Okay, so we can start removing the windshield to get access and the front panel to get access to the charger and show how to replace the charger. So let's unscrew the windshield first. It's 4 bolts holding the windshield. Then we have to remove those 2 louver cover to get access to the inner screw. Actually, there are 2 screws, one here and one here. And then we can remove this panel. There are 2 pins here. Just simply raise it up and remove it. Okay. Now we get access. This gold part is actually the battery charger, and this is the ICM. This is the interface control unit. It just converts all the analog input, such as direction light, horn, hill switch, high beam, low beam, into a digital signal that is later on sent to the other components and devices. So let's remove the headlight. There are 4 bolts to hold the headlight in position. Then we have to rise up to unlock the headlight that is actually locked to some subframe. And unplug the position light, just press and pull. And the light bulb, just press on the side and remove. Great. So now to get access to the charger, we will have to remove the front right panel by removing a screw here. Another screw, it's here. To pay attention, you see there is a silver parts sticking over the black parts. This is actually the legs of a panel going through. If we can mount it also with these legs under the black plastic, but the panel, it will result misaligned. Need to remove also this bolt that is actually holding the front subframe. Now we can try to remove the panel. Have first to pull it here and then to rise up this part. And then we have access to one screw here inside. We'll need a long screwdriver to remove it. And disconnect the direction light, push and pull. So actually this is the battery charger. It has 3 connections. This is the AC input. It coming from the charging cord. This is the DC output going to the battery. And here we have a data connector for the communication. This part is a fuse holder next to the DC output. This is a fuse at the protection of the DC output. If this fuse actually get blown, the vehicle will be not able to charge, and the warning light, it will turn on the display showing us that the DC fuse is blown. First, let's disconnect the DC and removing, and the AC, same. And the data, see there is a violet legs, just pull it on the side. So the only live part when the charging cord is not plugged is this connector between pin, there are pin numbers here, between pin 1 and 5, 3 and 5. If we measure with the DC voltmeter, we should have the battery voltage. Actually, there is another fuse placed here on the motor controller. If this fuse is blown, you don't have a battery voltage here, so the charger will be not able to recharge the battery. One of the tests we normally do is checking if we have a battery voltage here before saying that the battery charger may be damaged. So the battery functional voltage is between 100 and 150 volt. So if you have any value between this range, it's fine. If you have below 100, it can simply mean that the battery is deeply discharged or that the fuse on the motor controller side it's partially blown. So you may have some high resistance that it generate a low voltage reading. All the connectors are safe. Okay? The pin is inside the plastic, so there is no way to get access. Of course, if you insert some metal pin inside, there is a risk of getting electric shot, especially from this connector. As well, from this connector is the charging cord, it's plugged in. To remove the charger, we have 4 bolts in each corner, one in each corner. I'm going just to release them. Turning slightly the wheel, it can help to get a better access to the bolt. It would be helpful to put the hand, prevent that the bolt fall inside after the charger removal. This I left it as a last one because it supports the charger up to the end. But it just came off. Once again, DC output, AC input, data connection, and DC output fuse. To check the fuse, just press and rotate to remove it. There is a standard glass fuse. It's a 15 amp fast globe in series with the battery positive. You can check the functionality of this fuse with the standard multimeter, check the resistance of the fuse. It should be shorted. This is the conductivity. Here we can already see the ignition switch. This is the data cord of the charger, and in this point it's connected to the main harness. This cable carries the power supply for the charger electronics and the CAN bus signal for establish a communication between the charger, motor controller and display, and ICM as well. So in case of a battery charger failure, you receive a new unit. You need just to mount it in, fully close it, and later on, using the diagnostic application, program it properly. This is 1.5 kilowatt power and can be powered from the 110 volt AC up to 240 volt AC. It will draw out no more than 12 ampere DC for charging a battery. The new unit we have right now, it's actually half size and has a power of a 3.3 kilowatt, universal voltage range from 60 AC up to 250 AC, and it drove out 23 amp DC. Actually, because the new charger unit is a half of it, we designed a support frame here to reuse the 4 original mounting points, and there is a space for 2 units. So actually, if you mount 2 units, you can increase your charging power from 1.5 kilowatt up to 6.6 kilowatt, making the charge much faster. The new charger, it can be powered from a start and one phase, 250, but due of the limitation of the charging cord or the charging plug, normally just one charger can be powered through a standard socket. If you want to power 2 chargers from one single phase, you would need to replace the charging cord with a bigger cross-section one and a different plug, actually an industrial one. Or you can use the new fast charging connector, the Type 2, mounted here and removing completely the charging cord. It's a limitation in the cross-section of the cable and in the cross-section and rating of the pins, actually. But it's possible to power both units from one phase. if they are wired properly. There are few hardware versions of the same charger. They look exactly identical, but inside they're different. We can identify those hardware version either from the label here, if present, because not all the model had, either from the serial number that is stamped here on the aluminum heatsink, or from the serial number that could be reported here. Right. Next to the serial number, you may find some letter like this, N, F, D, and it means that this charger was reworked for a noise, for a CAN bus noise. F, that it was equipped with a fuse, protection fuse, and D, that we mounted some diodes inside to better protect the circuit and increase the reliability of the component, of the charger himself. You may find charger already reworked or not. This rework, it was introduced since 1st January 2016.
And they are much more reliable than the
Yes, they are much more, because the internal circuit are protected.
But the new ones,
better
the
protected.
3.3 kilowatts, one are quicker at charging.
Yes,
and
it's
two,
much quicker.
And they're better quality as well.
Better quality as well. And it's also much better sealed. This charger is a IP54, so it doesn't guarantee the full sealing against the water or direct splash of water. There are some seal here. The new charger is IP67, so it means that can be actually submerged up to 1 hour or 45 minutes. I don't remember exactly the.
Also protected, much better protected.
Much better. Also, this is empty inside, and it's dissipated through a heatsink. The new one has a heatsink as well, but it's full filled with the thermoconductive compound, so it helps the heat dissipation to be conducted in all the direction, and in the same time it mechanically support the components inside, so also it has a much higher vibration rating. It can sustain a higher vibration. Okay. So let's assume that this is the new charger unit. Let's mount it back. Put a screw, it will help to hold the charger in position. Okay. Before mounting the panel, let's dismount all the other plastic elements to get access to the battery compartment, so we can also show where those cable goes.